everybody. It's me again, Natasha, here to talk about health and wellness and spirituality predominantly, mindfulness, that kind of thing. And today I'm going to talk about choosing happiness and also cultivating happiness and the happiness challenge that I'm gonna talk about a bit at the end, and setting you a challenge if you're up for it, and talking a little bit about happiness as a choice and tuning into radio dial, which means tuning into, I'll talk a bit about that, but also like the law of resonance and all these other exciting things. The reason I am talking about it initially first is because I've been working with quite a few clients. So I'm a coach, and a lot of the clients I have been working with over the last year, there is this theme where they haven't put their needs first for a while. So it's been on my radar to perhaps talk about something like this. But with them specifically, they have a lot of things going on, like many of us. They have families and lots of other things that are happening for them, and they're giving away a lot of their, quite rightly, which is what we all do. We give our energy and time away to these things, and sometimes we forget about our own needs. So it's about them now thinking about that for themselves. And some of the blocks they've come across are themselves. So things getting in the way, feeling distracted, feeling guilty. And a lot of the job I've had is about making them realise how important it is to put themselves first sometimes, and to think about the benefits of what they get from nourishing what they need and how that affects other people around them. And so there's been a lot of work around that, and because obviously when you cultivate happiness, and when you think about what makes you happy, and when you set time aside for yourself to do things for you, then it's not selfish, depending on how you're doing it. If you're doing it all the time, then it needs to be balanced, but you setting that time aside for yourself is important because it has positive impacts for those people around you and for yourself, obviously. So what that means as well is that happiness being a choice, that doesn't mean that you're bypassing your emotions, or that doesn't mean I'm going to say that you don't think about your other feelings. If you're having a hard time, then you need to be able to honour that. And so happiness also means to me self-love. So it's when you are going down, because we're not happy all the time, but when you are having those times where you do feel bad, it's saying, what can I do today to make myself feel better? What do I need? What things do I need to have in my life to make me feel better right now? So it's reframing the idea of happiness, because it's all the same thing to me. It's happiness for me is about making sure that I feel good and make sure that I'm putting what I need first as well. So it's thinking about it in that way as well. So it's not a selfish thing. It's about what can I do for myself. So it's also important, I think, to think about the fact that it's not always the shoulds. Because if I asked you what makes you happy, then you might say, well, I should think of these things. I should say my kids and my work and my life and my... But if you had, because I went to a workshop yesterday which actually touched on the same things I'm thinking about. If you had a day to yourself, if you had like some extra time to yourself, what would you do with that time? That is what I'm asking you. What extra things would you do to make yourself feel happy? It's worth thinking about. So coming back to this idea of your dial. So if you're thinking about yourself as a radio, and the top notch on the radio being 10 is, I feel so happy, your ecstatic happiness is number 10, like really, really happy. And nor is, I do not feel happy at all. I feel awful, like, so really unhappy. So 10, happy, 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 nor really, really unhappy. So the idea with that is that if you dial yourself, you can choose where you move that dial to. It's so you can actively choose whatever situation you're in and saying, I'm gonna spend some time dialing myself up this week, or I'm gonna react in this situation where I'm gonna dial up to a different dial. And it's the idea of resonance. So it's the idea of the closer you are to that point in the dial that's in a better place, the more likely you are to be able to line up to things and attract things and be in situation with things that start to line up to where you're tuned into. It's about that inner tuning, and the inner tuning that you have is really, really important. So it is, once again, I've said this before, the law of attraction, but thinking about it as an inner tuning for yourself. And I've been going to somewhere called the Tara Yoga Centre. I've been doing a couple of courses there. And one of the challenges was to do this. They talked about this dial and cultivating happiness. And we had to go away for a week and just think about cultivating happiness and turning our dial up to a different dial. And I noticed that slowly things definitely improved, and it just so happened that this workshop, this challenge was on the same week as a workshop I was going to go to, and you know, it just seemed to line up with other things that were happening around the time, and I actively made a choice to be more happy. I thought about what makes me happy, like things like going to, I mean, this is my list, but like going to like coffee shops. I love sitting in coffee shops and just like doing work or reading, listening to like nice music. I actively started listening to Spotify happy playlists and stuff. like some might say quite cheesy, but for me it was about putting something on in the background that was just feel good, you know, like feel good music. I got really into like specific songs. If you haven't heard Andrew Gold's Never Let Us Slip Away, then you need to listen to it after this video, because it's like the best song ever. So proper easy listening, and I'd listen to some of that in the morning. I went to a few more dance classes, and I really thought about, you know, the things that make me happy: reading, going to theatre, like all these other things. I booked a few theatre tickets and stuff like that. Also, I started using my sparkly pen more. I don't know if you can see this, but like, I love this pen. This is the best pen ever, and it makes me happy. So I use that as well. And I also made an effort to smile a little bit more, you know, and like talk to people a bit more, like about happier things. And I gave out a few compliments and chatted to the doorman at work a little bit about something package that was funny, and just made a little bit more effort. And you know what? It started working. Like, I started feeling a difference, and it felt like it was a slow progress. Like, it started to like build up a little bit, and I feel as if the more you do it, like, you just notice things, like you notice more opportunities that are nicer, and like people feel you in a happier place, and they reflect that back to you. Like, your reality starts reflecting how you feel inside, like your light starts to shine. And yeah, it just felt really good. And I think that, yeah, it definitely worked. So the other thing that I really noticed, and if nothing else had happened, just this one thing happening, was that in the mornings, I have a habit of going into the shower and being a bit negative. And it's one of those things that it's like an unconscious pattern. And I'll go into the shower and I'll start thinking about the day, and I'll start thinking about all the things that kind of irritate me, or, you know, thinking about sort of negative, like my head would get into a negative space, specifically in the mornings. And it really kind of like, it's one of those things I've been aware of before, but during this week, I specifically kept noticing that I would slip back into it. And it just, so I started to actively stop doing it. I would start slipping into it, and then I'd go, no, think about something happy, start singing a song, and so just that one takeaway of having that raised awareness of happiness helped me to identify a pattern that I thought I was on top of, but had already slipped back into. And it's amazing how these unconscious patterns can start to come back in if you're not on it. So even though you might be like I thought, you know, I'm the mindfulness queen, like what the heck, I don't need to do these challenges. I'm sorry, but they do matter. Like it's important that you do this stuff on a regular basis. Like you set yourself little challenges like this, and you remind yourself, because trust me, there will be unconscious patterns happening that you might not be aware of. And doing stuff like this helps you, again, to get on top of it. And the more you get on top of it, the more you master yourself, and the more you master your life, and the more you master your mind. And it's all interconnected. Believe me, it is all interconnected. You're going to become a wizard, okay? So I have a challenge for you. The Cultivating Happiness Challenge. Okay, so if you're ready, okay, even if you don't do this, just listen to this next bit and then just perhaps take away. But I ask you to consider the happiness challenge, okay? The Cultivate Happiness Challenge. So before you begin, I want you to rate your happiness. 10 being I'm so happy, I can't even get away, and you know, I can't cope, to 0 being I'm awful. Rate your happiness, and then I want you to come back at the end of the challenge and see where you're at. So 1, before you start, if you had extra time for yourself, what stuff would you do to make yourself happy? Okay. 2, what benefits would you get from happiness? What benefits would you get from more happiness? Like, it's really important to think about the benefits and the values of being happy. That stops you from feeling guilty about it, okay? Because if you think about the benefits and the values and the point of it all, then that helps you to kind of give it a bit of backbone, so you start to actually do it. Because it's important. These things are important. And also, how would it impact others around you? And who would it impact apart from yourself? 3, how can you tweak each day / week to get some of that happiness into your life? It might be something that you can just do for a day. You know, you might want to give yourself a little chunk of time per week, you know, an hour or 2 a week where you're doing something nice for yourself. Or you might want to inject a little bit, or you might want to do what I did, which was, you know, just randomly just try and pick a few things that kind of permeated through the week, which I thought was quite nice. But big or small, doesn't matter, sparkly pen, it all counts. Do it. Okay. Optional 4, smile more. Compliment at least one person in your next week. in a non-creepy way. You'll be surprised. You don't have to do that one, but I recommend it. I recommend it, okay. Okay, 5. If you end up feeling low, ask yourself, what do I need right now to make this easier for myself? So think about things in a self-love way. This isn't like walking around for the 2 weeks going, ah, like the Joker, like trying to pretend that everything's great. If you are having a crap time, what can I do to make myself feel better? 6. Oh yeah, that's it. At the end, I want you to rate your happiness again out of 10, and if there's no improvement, which I'm pretty sure there will be, trust me, there'll be at least 1 notch up. Keep going. It's no excuse. I don't you're not doing it. And it's an ongoing thing. It's not really for the 2 weeks, but just start for the 2 weeks, and after that 2 weeks, reward yourself again. You know, buy something nice for yourself. Treat yourself. Treat yourself. Treat yourself, like that thing on the thing. And that's the end. That's my happiness challenge. So enjoy. Much love, much love, much love and happiness. And I wore this dress for this video because it makes me happy. Forgot to mention that. Bye.